Hello everyone, Ember here, and welcome back to a new video. In this one, I'd like to take a look at a budget Okidogi deck. Now, I know that Okidogi is not as cheap as some of the other budget decks I've covered on this channel before, but it's certainly on the more cheaper end compared to the rest of the meta, really. So Okidogi is a really fun single prize attacker, which has 130 damage and only does 70 damage for 2 Fighting Energy, which by itself isn't that impressive. However, what makes Okidogi really special is that ability, Adrena Power, which says if his Pokemon has any dark energy attached to it, it gets plus 100 HP and its attacks do 100 more damage. So effectively, you go up to 230 HP. So you're basically just a EX Pokemon at that point, a basic EX, and you also do 170 damage. Now, one way of doing this is if you really wanted to, you could use Barbaracle to accelerate like up to 2 Fighting Energy, I guess, if you wanted to, on Okidogi, and then attach a basic Dark Energy if you wanted to do that. However, that's 170 damage for 3 energy, which is not that impressive, really. So what we can do, however, is use the Prism Energy. And Prism basically acts as both fighting and dark at the same time, effectively. I know it says only one at a time, but effectively what it means is the fighting is still paid for in the attack cost, but it still counts as having a dark energy attached to it. I know it doesn't really make all that much sense in my head, but like, trust me, it does still work. So yeah, Prism Energy plus a regular Fighting Energy will let you do good punch for 170. So that's the main attacker. As for a secondary attacker, though, we do have a single copy of Bloodmoon Ursaluna. You could run more of these if you want to, but I've not found it like super necessary. But yeah, it does have the ability Battle Hardened, which basically says when you bench it, you can attach up to 2 basic Fighting Energy cards from your hand to it, which is really nice. And then Mad Bite does 100 for 3, and then 30 more for each damage counter on your opponent's active Pokemon. So effectively, this is for the really big megas. Like, you're still doing 170, which is enough to two-shot things, but, you know, chaining all 4 Okidogis back-to-back, bit difficult, bit annoying to have to do, and you can only play 4 Prism plus a Legacy Energy. So, like, it is a bit annoying and tedious to have to do that against megas. So having, like, a Bloodmoon Ursaluna in here basically just alleviates some pressure. And you can also just Night Stretcher for it as well. It is a bit of a problem if you open the game with it, but like aside from that, it's a very good card and it's absolutely worth playing. As for other attackers though, we do have a Moltres in here. Now we only have 5 energy that can actually be used on Moltres, like we only have the Legacy Energy and the Prism. So it is something worth bearing in mind, like you could add some Fire Energy if you wanted to. But the original list, which I based this off in Japan, it was playing a Munkidori in a Dark Energy, and I really couldn't bring myself to feature another Munkidori in the deck, and I was just like, all right, I really want to try out something that doesn't use Munkidori. So yeah, I decided to remove the Munkidori, and I mean, your Pokemon are never really damaged anyway before they get knocked out because they're so fragile. I mean, like Okidogi might be able to tank a hit occasionally, but really aside from that, it doesn't matter too much. So yeah, like you could use Munkidori to fix some of your math if you really wanted to, but at the end of the day, I don't think it's that big of a deal. Moltres, however, does get you a one-shot Ogapon and does soften up grass-type attackers quite nicely for you, so just something worth bearing in mind if you want a better chance against Ogapon and Venusaur. So yeah, that's why we run Moltres. And then the Barbaracle engine's very self-explanatory, you know, just accelerate Fighting Energy from the hand. We do also have the Solrock and Lunatone engine. Cosmic Beam, 70 damage, isn't affected by weakness, which is, yeah, kind of sucks a bit, not going to lie. But it does go through resistance if that will ever matter, but still, it's there as an option. And of course, Lunatone having that excellent draw 3 if we discard Fighting Energy. And that's also why we run plenty of energy, because it's our draw engine, not just our way of accelerating energy. So I think it is kind of necessary to have a high count of basic energy, not just run, you know, like 4 special energy, 4 basic fighting, you know. I do think it is important for the draw engine. But as for the trainers, it's pretty low on trainers, to be honest. Like, there's really not a lot here. We've got 4 Carmine for that early turn burst where we might want to try and jig for a Prism or at least a few energy on the board. Then we also have 4 copies of Boss's Orders because this deck really likes Meowth EX and it also really likes Pheasantipity EX. So if you can target down them for some easy prizes, then that's better than having to slug your way through 3 prize knockouts, basically, and stuff like Dragapult. So yeah, Boss's Orders is really nice for that. Then we have 4 Poké Pad and 4 Gong, which is our way of finding Pokemon. We do also have on this list 3 Night Stretcher, 2 Air Balloon for some retreat action, 2 Pokégear, 3 copies of Tarragon, which is essentially our way of recovering Pokemon as well. So we can afford to be very aggressive with like discarding energy in the early game with Lunarock, which is very helpful because it just means there's less pressure on it. Also, Tarragon's really nice for recovering a Bloodmoon because it means you can get back a Bloodmoon plus the 3 fighting energy. So essentially, if you have an Air Balloon pre-established on the board as a pivot, then you can just use Tarragon, get a Bloodmoon back, attach it to energy using the ability, and then boom, just manually attach for turn. And then there you go. So you can just Tarragon for a back-to-back Bloodmoon, which is very handy. So always a combo worth bearing in mind. That's like the #1 combo with Tarragon I'd recommend. So something worth bearing in mind. Also got 3 copies of Battle Cage just to protect your bench Pokemon from damage counters. So Monkey Dory, yay, and like Dragapult. So, you know, that's nice. Yeah, Battle Cage is nice. Would highly recommend Battle Cage. There is like some other stuff you could play. What springs to mind is like the Nighttime Mine Stadium, the one that increases Terra attacks by 1 colors. So you could try and stuff over Terra decks a bit. You could play was it Jamming Tower to turn off tool cards? Although you do play Air Balloon, so it's a bit risky. But like you could swap these out for like switches or something, and then just run Jamming Tower. You could also run Rocket's Watchtower, but I would rather like encourage my opponent to play a Meowth just so I can get some easy 2 prizes. You can argue that's 6 and 2 3s because Meowth is such a good card anyway, but you know, I still really like being able to boss for Meowth. So it essentially means you can play the game on a 4 prize basis before Meowth, so that's nice. But yeah, pretty light on trainers, pretty self-explanatory. A lot of like 2-ofs and 4-ofs and stuff in this list. It's very, very self-explanatory in how it all comes together. But yeah, let me know what you think about the Okidogi budget deck down below. Have you been having any success with it? And yeah, thank you for watching. Okay, so we're up against a Dragonite deck, which is a little bit scary, to be honest. Not really sure how this is going to go, because Dragonite is a lot of HP for us to deal with. Thankfully, it uses a very expensive attack, so if they're not running like a single price attacker, then maybe we can price trade effectively there. But yeah, we'll have to see what my opponent does here. So it looks like they're going to go ahead and pass. That's absolutely fine. Unfortunately, we keep drawing Prism Energies, which is kind of useful, I guess. Like, we could pop a Prism Energy down here, but what we really need to see is more Fighting Energy, actually. So, although I suppose if we get a Fighting Energy, I'm always just going to attach it anyway with Barbaracle, so I may as well put one down here. Yes, I think that's fine, actually. We'll do this. Moltres, sadly, I don't think is going to be super useful in this matchup, so we're going to Lillie's Determination. And we redraw Moltres, of course we do. I will use Stone Arms for the active one. Yeah, we'll do that. And then I will Gong for a Barbaracle, or will I actually Gong for Barbaracle? I could get Bloodmoon. I feel like we'll need Bloodmoon for Thingy. Yeah. I don't know. I feel like we'll need Bloodmoon. I think we're going to do it this way. And then, yeah, we'll just attach the 2 energy. And then we have Gong for an energy to draw 3 next turn if we need to anyway. So that's fine. And then we can... Good Punch for a silly amount of damage. Definitely overkill. Only taking a prize, but it's fine. It just means now that if we take down Dragonite, we can hopefully boss KO Meowth or Fez, right? So we'll see what they do, though. They don't need much, actually. What, like, Rare Candy Dragonite? And then, like, another Dynamotor. Like, they really don't need a lot. And they've got an 8-card hand, so I think they'll get it this turn. But that's fine. We don't need to worry too much about that. So yeah, Dragonite could also be playing Wally's Conviction. It wouldn't surprise me if they're playing a Wally's in this. Which would be a bit scary. We don't like Wally's. It's a bane of single prize decks. Right, so... yeah, so they can search or attack for an evolution Pokemon. That's fine. If we could draw into a boss, that would be fantastic. We did discard one earlier, though, so it's unlikely. Yeah, so that was a Dragonite. I don't know why the image doesn't just linger, but yeah, that was a Dragonite. Was it a Dragonite? Yeah. Mega Dragonite. So 330 damage, 370 HP, which is kind of crazy. So it's not actually a 2-shot with Okidogi, which is very gross. So they are kind of like out-damaging us at this point. Can't remember if I run Brave Bangle in this list or not. I suppose we can check next turn with Gong. Mega Electros? Well, that's Well, I suppose it would live with 10 HP, right? Yeah, if they used Electros, it would live with 10 HP. That kind of sucks. That does suck. Why is this thing have 350 HP? The Naveen. Let's see what they discard here. Wait, what does Naveen do? Alright, draw until I have 5. Seems kind of bad, though. But I'll just play Moltres. Your turn. Wow, okay. Alright, we can definitely go ahead and use a Luna Cycle here. Ooh. Oh, there we go. That's what I'm talking about. Oh, I felt that one in my bones. That's good. Right, we'll absolutely use Stone Arm down here. So that was, yeah, that was lucky. So we are going to get rid of this because it's evil. We could get rid of that, but I actually kind of like going down to 4 prizes in this situation. Unfortunately, I think we are out of boss, though, which is a little bit annoying. But they don't really have much of a board presence. Alright, there's another Barbaracle. Cool. So if they do Split Bomb, we what, like... Okay, well, they're not doing Split Bomb now. But I was going to say, well, we could actually with Energy Switch. But, like, if they use Split Bomb, we smack them, they survive, they conceded. Never mind. Yeah, to be fair, I think there was a world where they could have called their way back from that, but that's fair.